Senator Cassidy.
Secretary Perry, how are you?
Doctor, how are you, sir?
Last week, this committee advanced the Small-Scale LNG Access Act of 2017, which gives Caribbean and Central American countries greater access to liquefied natural gas. The legislation mirrors DOE rulemaking announced last September. This bill, just to put a plug in for it, benefits American workers, the American economy, American geopolitics, and lowers global greenhouse gas emissions. So there's some objections that somehow this would raise domestic natural gas prices, but according to the CIA World Factbook, the entire energy demand of all Caribbean nations combined is 1.2% of the U.S. Given that only small volume projects are eligible to benefit from the legislation and the 1.2%, the low energy demand, what do you think will be the impact of this legislation on U.S. natural gas prices?
In a simple statement, I would suggest it would be minuscule, even if identifiable at all.
And how do you think this would impact the energy markets that we're targeting, those in the Caribbean and Central America?
I think opening up those markets are incredibly important, whether it's being able to modernize, get away from some very ineffective fuels from the standpoint of both cost and to the environment. Being able to bring that LNG to play in those markets would be good for their.
And many on this committee are concerned, and just to speak to them, about global greenhouse gas emissions. So if we're replacing high sulfur, highly viscous Venezuelan crude as an energy source with, I would prefer natural gas from Louisiana, but you'd probably prefer Texas. But U.S. natural gas, what would that do for those global greenhouse gas emissions?
Yes, sir. Texas gas does burn cleaner. That's true that you've identified that. But in all seriousness, we saw a major transition from older, inefficient plants in my home state in the 2000s to gas plants, and we saw the sulfur dioxide down by 60+% emissions, the nitrogen oxide down by almost over 50%.
And that is not even using Venezuelan sour crude, which many of these folks do. You're using something cleaner than that.
Yep. And so the point is, we know that you can see emission reductions and substantial emission reductions when you transition away from older, inefficient plants, and particularly plants that are using. We can get into a whole nother discussion, which we don't have time here for, about the Northeast being forced to use some pretty ineffective fuels because they do not allow the transport of natural gas across some of those states.
Well, let me ask you something else. Texas was a leader in wind power, probably is the leader in wind power.
Still is, yes, sir. One
thing that we've noted is that using more natural gas, because you can have your startup plant and background work, that actually you enable expansion of renewables by converting your base load, if you will, to natural gas. Any comments on that?
No, sir, you're correct.
Yeah, I think we saw that you get 0.8 incremental increase of renewables for every 1% or every 1 unit of one, if you will, increase of that. Yep. So anyway, so just to kind of explore that with you, thank you. One more thing that is of concern, there is a MOX plant being built in South Carolina. I won't ask you to comment on this too much, except that there was an order for a kind of contractor collaborative process to rebaseline that order 413.B from the Department of Energy. And I'm not sure that that has been updated in this collaborative process. So can I have your commitment just to review that and get back to us on that process?
Yes, sir.
I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
I yield back. Thank you.